Yeah, my name is Tony Chahine. I was born in Lebanon in بداية اسمها قابل. I'm very proud of. I left, unfortunately, I left Lebanon in the 80s. And then I left to Germany first, then from Germany to Canada. So I've been here for 33 years in Canada. And then before that, I was in Germany. So I've been back to Lebanon once when my mom passed away in the mid 90s. And that's it. So my memory of Lebanon, is in the middle of war. So we were living in different cities and different villages for years and different schools. And but I have fond memories, and many of that memory shaped my product innovation. لأنه in a small town, the connectedness of a community, even in the middle of a war, neighbors were caring for each other, and family, was highly connected. We took those things for granted. You never had to worry about if the kids are outside or your grandpa living next door. Over here in Canada, you worry about those things because your parents are probably living an hour away or 2 hours away. They're not living in the same home. You're living in a condo, they live in a house, etc., etc. So that ability to stay connected in Canada, notwithstanding all the connectedness devices, you're not really as connected. So in a small community like in Lebanon, the benefit is unbelievable. That benefit of having neighbors and interaction with your family and your neighbors, and the fact that that level of connectedness create a pattern that everyone knows what's going on. Your health, your wellness. People can detect early on if there's something wrong with you. And then people socialize those concepts. So everyone became an expert on prevention. So the level of awareness and education was indirectly infused in our community. It wasn't taught in school, etc. It was in our culture that you kind of you're always worried about your neighbors, your elderly, your kids, etc. So that kind of concept was etched in my brain, if you will. And so when I wanted to solve this problem with my dad, at first I just wanted to find a way to stay connected with my dad. Of course, I was traveling. I had a business, and my dad was living here. I come from a family of 7. Some were in Europe, some here, etc. But it was very difficult. Like you'll think with a family of 7, you'll be able to distribute the care of your dad, and you don't have to worry about him being left alone. But it was very difficult, and probably one of the worst personal experience for me. It's something that you carry. You carry for the rest of your life as guilt that you weren't able to do for your parents what they've done to you. So it was something that pretty difficult for me. So I wanted to find a way to stay connected with my dad, but I couldn't find it early enough. The way I was able to check on him is either a visit or a phone call. And the phone call usually is to a nurse, and the nurse is translating what's going on, and the whole thing is transactional and episodical, not continuous. You see, back home, you will call the neighbor if you don't have someone. And you can call your sister, you can call your aunt, you can call someone, you can call the priest, you can call the barber. Someone will know what's going on, and someone will be able to confirm some of those things. So that continuum of care existed in our community naturally. So over here, there is no such thing called continuum of care. It's all episodical. So you're always looking at a snapshot of one's health and well-being. So you're calling saying, how are you doing? It could be he may be doing okay in that moment. He may not be. Regardless, that answer in that 5-10 minutes is not indicative of anything. It's just a random answer. So I wanted to find a baseline, which is similar in our community. You have those baseline because, as I mentioned, everyone is connected. Everyone is aware of what's going on. Everyone is building a pattern of each other They can tell who you are from far away, from the way you walk, from the way you dress, from the way you talk, from your voice. Everyone can detect those small anomaly and small anomaly and small changes in your baseline. Same thing over here can't happen because we're so distributed. So we're trying to find a replacement using a technology that's more human, that has a level of empathy that has an outcome that's focused on human benefit, not just as the product is to deliver that kind of an outcome, not just to sell a device as the product. So anyway, fast forward, I just wanted the simple thing, maybe I could say, I just wanted to find an equivalency to physical presence in a digital presence. So if I wanted to interact with my dad today we have the technology that gives me the 3 or 4 modalities of sensing on my dad that can give me an idea about how he slept without me asking him, then give me an idea if his respiratory rate changed without me asking him. Because of course, even if I ask someone, are you breathing well, they don't know what that means, but it may tell me, that kind of a biomarker may tell me that something is off early on. If I see a change in your core body temperature, that may tell me something early on. So I can do something about it. I can deal with it in advance. And so having an underwear or a bra or a tank top, and one of the reasons we chose these type of textiles as a primary textile in our vision is because everyone, 100% of the population is wearing an underwear, bra, tank top. I don't have to convince you, and you don't have to buy an extra product to interact with for the benefit of staying connected or for measuring your health and wellness. So having less product and convert the very same product that you're already wearing into a secondary purpose is what we're after. But doing that will allow me to have a continuous connection to that person, and then from there you can form awareness and relationship, and then you can deal with that person regardless where they are, and you can actually feel their presence as if they are next to you. And I'll show you some examples downstairs how when you are for example texting someone in our own platform, what I mean by multiple modalities, if I text you right now, I can send you a message and then I have to put an emoji next to it to express my message. In our platform, it's already expressive. So that message comes with your live heart rate, with your live core body temperature, with your live respiratory, with your posture. So imagine, let's say I'm texting me and you. If I'm in front of you right now, if I'm in a meeting, and then you're pacing back and forth, that input is important for my interaction. I may change my conversation with you based on that. But in a digital type of communication, those things are absent. But if I add to the digital conversation the ability of immersing those features, then I could feel your presence as if you are next to me. So the benefit of these things, for example, if you look at a lot of medical devices, they're standalone devices. For example, you have a blood pressure device that measures your blood pressure. Okay, you can pump and measure the blood pressure, okay, and then you do that twice a day, 3 times a day, great. And then another device that tells you, okay, let me put some neck band, and if I fall, I'm gonna notify the SOS, okay. But then you find that people don't do their blood pressure on time or don't do it regularly. And if they do it for a minute or two, it does not give you actually a clear picture. There's a significant amount of studies showing people when they go to a doctor, measuring their blood pressure at the doctor is often much higher just because they have an anxiety level of what's gonna happen. But also in the event of those neck band would fall and slip, many times that people take that band and throw it on the bed and it registers as a fall alarm and people are rushing to see what's going on or calling. I mean, imagine those situations. Somebody, like you receive a notification and you're saying, okay, your mom just fell and you're an hour away from her. It's not like back home you can call a neighbor or you can call someone and you say, please go knock on the door and check. Again, these are the things we take for granted in our own community, but we haven't solved those problems in this large community. So the way we solve them, again, going back to the expressive presence that we enable, is if somebody fell or fall on our platform, the notification comes and, okay, I can see someone fall, I know their location, I know the respiratory rate, I know their ECG, I know their body temperature, I know they are tossing and turning, I know they tried to stand again, etc. So it confirms to me what I need to know, and I can deal with that flow from there accordingly. This is what I mean by you can enable a digital presence, very similar to a physical presence. But many examples that could go from there. But going back to this, if I send you a text, you'll be able to see that entire picture with every text. And then you can now interact with me if I'm texting in accordance to that input, level of input. So I think it's very helpful, especially for doctor and patient and nurses and family who are looking after their loved ones' health.
Wow. How did it start? How did it develop? So what's the...
Did I lose you though?
No, amazing. What's the difference between how it was and how it has become? Because we started the conversation by our new technology. So how did it start and how did it evolve?
I mean, the issue is this idea of creating conductive material on yarn existed well before me. You know, MIT had a number of patents in the early 2000s. They developed fully functioning transistors on a cotton thread. But it was not applied in scale. It was in a lab. Lots of those things existed in labs. So I looked at the science, what was available, and I started acquiring some patents from some universities early on. And then I started developing. The issue is, this is like every new category. It's not like you can go to a place where they can give you a reference and you can try to improve it. So the whole point here needed to be done from scratch. In the beginning, I was able to put some sensors off the market, place them on textile, and then develop some rapid prototyping to create some clinical trial. But we found out later on that those clinical trials will not be validated because the components were not ISO certified, or they didn't have biocompatibility, or they didn't have, etc. So. And regulatory affair and FDA and Health Canada, all of this is changing so fast. Every day they have all sorts of new wrinkles in those things. So in 2000, it was an idea. 2010 was an idea. 2011, 12, I was looking for machines. Of course, I had very little knowledge of textile or textile machinery. In the beginning, I thought I had various businesses. I thought I would travel to China and I can go in and say to some Chinese manufacturer, can you do this kind of stuff for me? And I've realized fairly quickly that that level of the textile industry in China or in India is not as sophisticated. They don't rely on engineering or clinical or scientific approach. It's mostly a low-cost labor assembly line. So I went back here and I started buying machines and we started testing, and then 2015, 2016 we started having some breakthrough, and then we licensed some of our technology in 2017 to a class 3 medical device for wearable defibrillation. So our textile now are measuring one's multiple vectors of the heart, up to 12 leads, and then they've added a defibrillator device. So for someone at home at risk of having a heart attack, this thing will defibrillate them automatically. It's a very complicated product, class 3 medical device, and the people who licensed our technology was Asahi Kasei from Japan, one of the largest in the world, $50 billion company. So that was our first breakthrough, not only financially, but credibility. To have a class 3 top of the line company licensing our technology proved that our patents were valid and our research were on point, and then it gave us a huge amount of credibility to start interacting with others. So in 2017, we entered into a partnership with Mayo Clinic in Rochester, the largest hospital in the world. We've licensed their algorithm and their machine learning for heart failure detection and heart health, and they became exclusive worldwide in perpetuity on textile with us. And then 2017, 2018, we've entered into a worldwide exclusivity with Karl Mayer and Stoll from Germany. These are robotic knitting machines. So by then, I've had probably close to 80 patents. But I wanted different barriers to protect our invention beside patents. So patents were one level of barriers, but then I went into exclusive partnership, whether it's for the wearable defibrillation, whether it's Mayo Clinic, and whether it's those machines that can produce this product. So we were fortunate. The timing was unbelievable because you can't do this deal today. We've secured an exclusive worldwide in perpetuity on the number one machine maker that can produce our product. So we've done that in 2018. And then by then, some of our products started becoming validated. We received Health Canada approval as a Class 2 medical device. And that's a huge thing because in Canada, the healthcare system is a social system. It's not like in the States where it's for profit. So you have to convince a government body why your product is comparable. And you have to prove, I'm sure you know, like in clinical validation, you have to prove that you're not worse off than the gold standard. You don't have to prove you're better. So we've done a 1,000-patient study whereby those patients were subjected to wear our product, bra, tank top, chest band, underwear, all sizes and all age patient, and they were wearing also the 12-lead Holter gold standard monitor. You know, when you have a stress or heart condition, they put those patches on you and wires. So we had to compare our data versus that, and it was a very successful clinical validation. And in December last year, we did a Mayo Clinic 50-patient study detecting arrhythmia and AFib on our platform against the gold standard. We also passed that. There is a huge amount of scientific paper being published with us. And we've developed a number of new inventions. As I said, we have 80 plus patents, but we also have dozens of trade secrets that we keep them very close to us, especially in the polymer formulation and in the way we embed our actuators. So essentially, we were evolving. Our knowledge was also evolving. As I said to you, I started with an idea, and I didn't care about solving all of these problems in one day. I knew I would be able to solve them. You know, in technology, you just have to have the bandwidth and the time and the knowledge that you have to push. You have to stay the course. You cannot just stop. So it was very difficult 12 years because you know, the company was self-financed. We didn't rely on third-party financing, and that was really important because most equity financier or VC financier would have changed the course of the business early on because they wanted an early exit, and I didn't want to do that. So we have invested millions and millions of dollars into this to make it a category that can actually ship a product in scale. So we're ready today to ship millions of units right from here, a fully certified product that you know, will solve a huge amount of problems in the healthcare system, especially in the recent resignation. Nurses are not going back, doctors are fed up, huge burnout, and patients are scared to go to the clinic because of COVID, or patients are neglecting their symptoms, either one of those. So, and in Canada, no different than anywhere else, remote towns don't have the same accessibility. So we solve a huge problem. You know, we just opened our first clinic. So essentially, where we land, we are now in one hand, we're connecting the human body, and I will go back to that connection because it's really unique the way I can talk, the way I want to explain it. But the outcome of this connection is what I'm after. Forget the technology and the hardware. The outcome is we will be able to access every human being on a continuous basis, regardless where they live and regardless what time. And they don't have to be technology experts. They don't have to speak the language. You just have to put on underwear. We studied this to a point where I wanted to change the least amount of habit. I just wanted to make sure that regardless of your education, regardless of your age, you know, specifically if you have a dementia or Alzheimer, you can put your underwear either by yourself or with the assistance of a care provider now you have the equivalence, now you have the connection level equivalent of anyone. So you can participate, you get to participate, you're no longer left behind. That was very important to me. So we've proven that and we're ready to do it. So our first clinic is live. We have 55,000 patients being onboarded into our platform, and we will have 1 million patients in the next 3 years to 4 years on our platform, just in Canada. We're also going to have FDA approval, and we will have CE mark in Europe. So we're growing pretty fast. The last 12 years were predominantly R&D and validation. So we have 2 clinics. So we have 2 types. So textile, for example, if you look at it, so you wear any product, a tank top, a chest band, a bra, an underwear, any type of underwear, boxer, bikini, whatever you want. This tank top could be long sleeve, short sleeve, chest band, also for baby, for newborn, or a bra. There's 3 types of bras. Bras you can sleep with, bra you can do sports, bra you can wear every day. So you put it on. There's a very tiny transmitter to energize my electrodes and my sensors, which is textile based. And then to transmit, it's a BLE type connection. It pairs with your phone or with a gateway. So your phone will have an app from us. That app connects the garment. That app reads the data from your body. And then on the app, you have the ability to invite a family member or a care circle or a doctor. When it comes to doctor, you have to have Health Canada approval, which we are, and HIPAA compliance and GDRP, all of that kind of stuff. So the doctor right now will have a clinical dashboard. And so this is what remote patient monitoring, so the doctor will have 100 patient or 50 patient, and then all of the data is streaming live as if you are in a hospital bed, and deviation from that may create an alert if you want, or you can have a scheduled appointment. But the benefit of a scheduled appointment in this model, the doctor is not looking at your data in that moment. The doctor gets to look at your data retrospectively. So they can see retrospectively or prospectively. So in the case of a heart health, often the workflow for a doctor, you have symptoms, you complain, and then sometimes you ignore those complaints. In my culture, in my community, the family member, the grandma, the wife, somebody will nudge the someone, say, no, you got to check with the doctor. So you end up going to the doctor some days or weeks or 3 weeks after, and then the doctor says, okay, go do a Holter monitor, put a patch on, which is a different lab, and then you get the report from that, and then you go to the doctor to see what the report is saying. All of those things is on the hope to catch what you complained about. Hopefully they can catch it in the future, but often it doesn't work like this. So the benefit of being continuously connected is now when you complain about something that Saturday, the data is there. I can go back to that Saturday and I can see, okay, I see some AFib, I see some ST segment, I see something related to your heart, but not only, I don't see it alone, because often you have false alarm. I see it together with your core body temperature, of course, continuously, not episodically. I see it with your posture. I see that you're sleeping. I see that you were running. I see your core body, I see your respiration. I see your location. So it gives me a holistic view of you, and then I can now pick up, I could use that information to give me, as a doctor, the ability to decide remotely with a higher level of accuracy. As I told you, in my community, prevention existed. The way you eat, they tell you eat this, the way you sleep, the way you walk, the whole community was involved in prevention. So prevention it's all about awareness and education. So the point is, there's lots of things in our own body that we neglect, symptoms-wise. We neglect, or some of them are silent. We don't even know they exist. For example, 60+% of stroke or mini strokes happen during sleep. So how would you know about those things as a human being? So prevention, so we believe in this vision that in order to prevent, you must develop a partnership with your health and wellness. You have to have your health and wellness as a companion to you. It's extremely important to start early on. So everyone wears it because I don't see the difference between healthy and sick. In North America, the whole or the world, now everyone dealing with care as a sick care. I believe in care to be a preventative type, that you'll be able to detect anomaly that can point to something, and then you have to become a partner in your own health. And don't just rely on the doctor or on the nurse. You have to partner, and your community or your family has to also be an equal partner. That's how you distribute care. So the whole thing is, we're trying to create an everyday device that you connect with, and an everyday social interaction between you and your family that deals with your health and wellness. So they can all know, after all, Anthony, if you think about it, how many times you call your wife and the question will be, how did you sleep? How was your night? Or maybe your parents. And sometimes you don't get to do it. Sometimes you want to do it, but time passed and you're busy. The benefit of this is, if you have this hunch, and if you have this bad feeling, or you have this concern, you don't have to leave it to guessing. You can look at your app. To the extent your wife or your parents want to share the data with you, now you get to see that stuff. So you're partnering with your wife, and she's partnering with you in those things. So it solves a social problem. We all want to check on each other. We all want to care for each other. I'm just trying to find a digital way to make caring applied every single day, not only when you're sick. So we have our own machine learning, but in addition, the whole point is to create a continuum of care, irrespective of where you are at the care phase. Meaning, if you go to a hospital, the data that pre-hospital is your companion. You go to the hospital, our platform integrates with the electronic medical record of the hospital. So you're not just looking at data and then it stops and now a new episode in the hospital. No, I want to know before I went to the hospital. I want to know my data during the hospital. And more importantly, I want to know my data after the hospital. So AI and various partners of AI. It could be our own AI, it could be the hospital AI, it could be GE AI, it could be Google AI. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is I want to empower the patient and the family to partner in their own health and not leave it alone and not just deal with it as saying, oh, I don't know what to do. No, you have to become an equal partner to the doctor and to the provider, and you have to, we have to find a way to socialize those things in our daily conversation. The difference between us and the Apple Watch, it's really important that, I hope I could explain that properly. An Apple Watch, for you to do an EKG, it requires your input. You have to hold your finger on the dial for 30 seconds. And if you are an old person or with dexterity on your finger, maybe that reading is not good enough. And it's a single lead ECG. And often, so if you do that 10 times a day, that's 3 minutes. 10 times. And 10 times a lot to ask anyone to do every single day. And that's an Apple Watch. And I would say it's accessible to a small percentage of the demographic, especially back home. It's a $500 device. And it's an additional device that you need to buy. Now, an underwear, it's the same underwear that you need to buy that you are replenishing anyway every 2 years. And you don't need to put your finger on that waistband. And you don't need to remember doing that. You don't need to wake up and say, oh yeah, I want to check this. The whole thing happened automatically. We called our brand, the physical brand, Skiin with 2 I. The point behind it, human cannot evolve anymore. But we wanted to create a synthetic type skin, maybe made of natural fiber, that allows human to participate in a future where AI is available to all. The question is, when you have AI available to all and healthcare available to all, one has to ask the question, how do you participate? How do you get to participate? So we wanted to solve the problem by creating a new interface that we think is the primary interface. And Apple Watch or a device like this, we consider them as a secondary interface, meaning I'm going to use this episodically, maybe every 5 minutes, maybe, but definitely not when I sleep. But the underwear or the mat, and even if you sleep naked on our platform, our mattress cover or our bed sheet detect your ECG or heart rate or respiratory rate. So what we are enabling is a continuum of care. We don't care how we achieve that. We already pair with Apple Watch and Garmin and Omron blood pressure. We pair with all of those devices because we don't care about how you get your data. We just want to consolidate your data on a continuous basis. That's on the Myant health platform. Myant health platform is sensor agnostic. Of course, it relies on Skiin because we think Skiin is a primary connector, but it also add additional connectors such as the stuff I mentioned.
What's Myant? What's the name? How did it come?
You know, it's Myant is. I was on a trip from Winnipeg to Toronto on a flight. It's a 2 hours flight, and one of my staff was with me, and I said I want to build a trust for my family, for my kids, and we were kind of playing. We were kind of scribbling on paper. So she said she picked up the first two letters of my kids. So Maya is my daughter, and Anthony is my son. So Myant, it became the combination, and it wasn't intended to be the company name, but that was in 2005, and in 2010 I wanted to start this, and I was lazy. I said, okay, you know what, let's call it Myant, and I'll change the name tomorrow. And then tomorrow became now, and then now the name is, I'm happy with the name. So.
Last question, how important it is today, let's say it as it is, how important it is today for the world, for Canada, how influential that company will become or has become, and probably people didn't hear about it today, but they will be hearing about it soon. Just say it as is, يعني بكل تواضع, just tell me about it.
I mean, it has the potential. We developed all the ingredient to make it scalable with almost no limit. You see, the textile industry is highly fragmented. So I chose a market that's full of problems and highly fragmented and lacks the multidisciplinary approach. I couldn't compete if I wanted to create the next wristband or the next phone. You have zero chance. But I wanted to create something that's so big. So I chose this medium, textile, and based on what we've done right now, on the patents that we have, the machinery that we have, our model is to develop assembly line everywhere. It's like a 3D printing. You'll see the setup that I have. You'll see how scalable. Look, this has the potential to be a massive company. By the way, whether we succeed or not, textile as a medium, after we created, especially after what we created, has an unbelievable reach. Millions and millions of users will benefit from this. The cost of going to a hospital or the cost of staying connected socially, the cost of taking time off work to care about your family and your loved ones, the cost of dealing with surprises, especially chronic conditions, and is far, far exceed the benefit of this.
عبالي فوت معك شوي بس رح اقول شغله بالعربي. The company is amazing definitely, but the way you started your conversation ضوت هيك شوية كتير قضية كتير حلوين. يعني نحن مثلا بتطلع بأمك بتقول لك بليز حل عني، بتسأل عني كل نهار، بتطلع بالجيران بتقول له لك شو دخلك أنت بإخباري اللي أنت بتعملهم. And the way you took something probably we take for granted and we think about negatively إنه هول اللبنانية أو العربي اللي كلهم لازقين ببعضهم وبيسمعوا بعضهم وبيحكوا مع بعضهم مش معقول متركوا كل واحد يعيش وحده. You took some advantage of it, and واحدة من الأشياء اللي دايما بنقول، أنا بقول أحلى بلد بالعالم وبرجع بقول لبنان ودايما بقول إنه، وعملت انترفيو من جمعة كنت عم بحكي عم بقول إذا حدا وجع راسه في حدا يدق باب حدا، إذا حدا وقع في حدا يدق حدا. And you took that advantage and probably taken on a global scale from صرخة أو شيء negative, but that is super duper positive and wow.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I want to tell you something just for laugh. I had a keynote speaker in Stanford. When was that? 2018. And the topic of this is AI or the effect of my grandma. So the topic, you like that. So I said, like, over here we complain about HIPAA compliance and data and privacy and connectedness and who do I share and what to share. I said, I grew up in a town where my grandma was my AI. And if I wanted to skip school, I knew somebody gonna tell someone and I'm gonna get the beating when I come back home. So the community I grew up, and every community in at least in Lebanon, has very similar a very similar tradition. So connectedness is really cell deep in our existence. And this idea, this is the problem in, I believe, in North American culture. They're trying to solve this problem by creating commodity to get to the point. I think naturally, you have to go back to it. I mean, for me, my grandma or my mom or my neighbor was an input where my AI. They were able to detect. For example, how many times your mom will say, we'll look at your face, we'll see you pale, and they will say, okay, you know what, Anthony, I'm gonna, and then she will do a soup for you or maybe you're not sleeping well, she does something, or maybe she gives you a hug, or maybe she talks to you. All of those things are developed in a closed loop system that someone is reacting dynamically to your biomarkers. So I think this is the only way to build a digital platform. It cannot be some digital transactional and then I have to teach every culture, every religion, every spirituality how to deal with it. It's not the way to do it. You have to create a platform that allows for every spirituality, every culture, every tradition, every way of life to be administered seamlessly. And
phenomenal. Phenomenal. From definitely all of us, millions in the Middle East would say, شو بدك ليش كلكم تعملين حالكم حكمة؟ كلكم تفهموا بكل شيء، شو بدك فيه إذا وجهي أبيض أو أحمر؟ اليوم شري قلت لي and lots of let's put it as it is إنه ليش عم تتدخلي بحياتي أو etc. لأمك لصاحبتك لجارتك and so on, and you took advantage of that thing that we take for granted and we don't like.
No.
And yes, we need to like it. And from another perspective, in a world where privacy ما تقرب علي وصارت الواحد بيوقع ما حدا بيلمه وإذا واحد وقع تليفونه بضيع, and you said okay fine, we're not into your privacy but at least we're protecting you, and wow, it's going to be the best company in the world. Invest today. Let's have a tour.
This is how you start in technology. Like it starts very big. Even this, like look at it as pretty bulky. But I just want to explain to you one more thing. Regardless what your needs are, you're always starting. Every day you're wearing a bra or an underwear. When you get, so our bra or underwear detect ovulation zone, period tracking, together with measuring your heart, your core body, because the indication for pregnancy is an elevated temperature, elevated heart rate, and you can detect all of these things in my underwear bra. But when a woman gets pregnant, especially if she has high-risk pregnancy, we measure fetal ECG. We validated that in a clinical trial. So the point behind that, in Canada we have 400,000 pregnancy, 13% of them have high risk. So you can take the person on our platform every day, and then if they get pregnant, it's a natural expansion of that experience. It's not like an episodical one. And then when the baby is born, we have a baby band or a pressure pad. So it's a continuum. So the whole family now is connected. In the case of a baby or in the case of fetal ECG, mom, for example, is worried about her daughter, could check on the baby, could also communicate with the nurse, could communicate with the doctor. The whole thing is now centralized in a way that hasn't been done before. So to do the video games, they give you reflectors and in front of a camera, and when you're moving, they input that into the model. If you look at those threads, so we've done that with Electronic Art, which is the largest gaming company in Canada. So this is our suit. So all of those threads gives me a 1 centimeter square movement of the body without the need of a camera. Because in a big field, you don't have a camera. You don't have those 3D cameras. So how do you enable a complete body biomechanic on a game from him? So this is one suit that they go running, and we have some of the reflectors over here. So now if you have a camera, it can detect those plus our own sensors on the garment. When someone is quadriplegic, and we started at the extreme cases, by the way. We didn't start with the easier one, because I wanted to solve class 3 medical device first. I wanted to understand all the implication there and work backward. And same thing with dementia. Dementia patient, very difficult. because it's a spectrum. You have, some are aggressive, some are not, some are in and out of it, and especially at the early phase of dementia or Alzheimer. So that kind of an outcome require a very different thinking. So you have to simplify the habit. So these are products. Someone who having spinal injury, accident, or stroke, what they do, they go to the hospital and they do electric stimulation on their muscle to retrain their muscle. Especially during a stroke, you have to do those things often in order to regain complete mobility. And sometimes people don't have the money to follow through, or they don't have the time, or they have to book appointment, which is often 6 months. So you can't afford that, because if you wait, it's going to be way more difficult to regain 100% mobility. So what we've developed you can imagine the time, we've developed, I could share with you if you want the video. This is Sam Schmidt, who's a Daytona race car driver who became quadriplegic following an accident, and we have developed a garment for him because it takes 2 hours for a masseuse to come and treat him every single day. Otherwise, he's going to develop bed sores and all sort of issues. So they have to keep their muscle at the highest level of health. So we have developed a brain-computer interface. So we take his intention and data from his head, and we develop a protocol of stimulation to allow him to shake his wife's hand or to move his hand. So the stimulation are on the garment, which I can show you the video. It's mind-boggling. So we've developed that. We've been working on that since that time, and it takes forever to get to a point now. You can see wires and all this. This is the beginning of the technology, and you can see now how it became almost like anyone could wear it. And the application, Anthony, is really important because the spectrum of application starts with an older member of a family that have atrophy. They're at risk of falling. Often if someone is obese or in their 80s, they fall, they break their hip, they don't recover. So the idea is you give them a legging, and they do, that legging will stimulate their muscle at a low level, but with a closed loop system, because we can detect their EMG or their muscle amplitude. So we can give them a unique dose of stimulation related to their muscle, as opposed to this one solution fits all. So the whole thing needs to be in concert with your own body and with your own tolerance, because the elasticity of each muscle for every human varies, and it could be the left different than the right. So we have our system measure your bioimpedance, measure your muscle amplitude and elasticity, and then we deliver a stimulation within that tolerance. So you can wear our legging for an everyday application, and now someone who's partially not mobile, they can benefit from that, so they don't have to develop atrophy. And they can keep their muscle in check. But for a serious case where someone has a quadriplegic, someone who's quadriplegic, or someone who has a stroke, you can give them that product, and now they can do that on a regular basis to make sure they do their rehab on time. The challenge of rehab is adoption. People don't do it. People don't follow through. And unfortunately, if you go to a clinic and a nurse, you may have a different treatment every time. So it moved all the way. So the goal is, how do you make this everyday product? Because we're not interested in creating a product only the very few can use. So you can see it, how it's transforming over time, and you can start seeing electronics being miniaturized. And this is our latest electrode, sometime in 2020. And the electrode over here has microelectronics behind it. You can wash, you can dry, but the benefit of that right now, it can recognize your tolerance, and it can deliver that dose of treatment in accordance with your own tolerance. So it moved, and this is essentially our product in 2020, and we haven't updated because of COVID. I'm sure you know that we had to, the whole country was shut down, but this is a product that's ready, that every human being could wear. You asked me above about do you give this product to sick people? No, you can't think like this, because someone in your family who's in their 70s, 80s, 90s, I don't know, they may have a knee problem, they may have arthritis, they can't walk, they can't exercise, they're gonna develop atrophy. So how do you make sure they prolong their life by giving them the right dose of stimulation to replace the required exercise? Example like this, it will allow people to have it, to use it every day. So think of it like a PCB electronic layout, except PCB, when you do those electronics, you use robot to come and deposit material into a fixed substrate. Instead of a fixed substrate, think of it as a soft substrate, which is textile. And instead of a robot using 3D printing doing this, imagine a 3D knitting. So all these materials are intelligent material or material that are specific to our purpose, and then they're programmed to deliver a finished product with the least amount of labor involvement. So it comes fully produced on the machine. Have the capacity to produce tens of millions of units, and you can't produce medical product. And I'm talking about everyday product that has the ability to be medical. And again, you asked me about prevention. To prevent, you have to wear you have to have something to help you prevent. To replace your grandma and your sister and your aunt being next to you, you need a replacement of that. So this is kind of the medium. So those machines are producing day and night. I have the ability right now to produce tens of millions of units. So you can copy that model in Europe, you can copy that model in the Middle East, you can copy that model anywhere, and you don't have to change anything, because for the last 10, 12 years, we built a complete workflow and processes in place to allow us to solve those problems. هيدي replacement للadhesive electrode. So in this case تطلع كلها مع اللوجو مع كل شيء بتطلع من الماشين. And you can see the circuitry. So and the challenge is هيدي رح تكون, you have to have this product to be sustainable. ما يكون فيها toxic material. At the same time, you have to prove biocompatibility. When you put it on a human skin, الماتيريال ما بيعملوا leaching للskin. So it's highly complex. It looks so simple, but it's highly complex to create an everyday product that you can wash in everyday washing machine and then still deliver a quality signal that is certified by hospitals or providers. If you get into our R&D and things like this, we're developing pH sensor, glucose sensor using sweat. So this is our polymer development. It's a completely separated room from the 3D knitting room. We have proven and compared our data using sweat. We have urinary tract infection, pH level, glucose level, protein level, all from your own sweat or urine using textile.
فكرت هول بس بتشوفون بفلومة. فكرت التكنولوجي هيدي بس للفلومة. فكرت انه واو، مش بس هيك، المخترع وصاحب الشركة اللبناني، واو، impressive.
That's exactly what we have. So we use cationic type yarn, and then we put on it one dye, and then you will have three different colors, but it's not different colors. One dye, but it's just the affinity of the yarn changes, absorb the color differently. So that becomes a very unique code. You can see it from a distance, and then you'll be able to have a unique garment. Each garment will be different, like a QRC code, but using textile. So it's very unique. It's not, currently when people want to do camouflage, they do silk screening. They put a film and they put a heat press on top, but you don't see it on the inside. This is actually developed on those machines. So, and it's really important. It comes from the machine like this, like a tube or like a t-shirt or a bra. But the point behind that is to create unique serial numbers and unique identifier per garment. So when it comes to selling product that you don't want someone to knock you off or cheating, or especially in medical devices, you want to know once you pair this device with you, whether if somebody have this device on them, I will know it's not this. As an example, it has various applications. This is our own yarn mill. So some of that yarn is coated or extruded by us with using conductive materials such as carbon or nano silver. etc. And then we take that yarn and we treat it, and we keep it in a perfect temperature, so you can produce hundreds of thousands of garments without having variable outcomes.
عم نحكي by the second.
Yeah.
ماشي continuously.
3 channels. Here's the channel 2.
Oh. يعني you replaced hundreds of thousands of dollars machine in just one fabric.
Yeah. That's the whole point. Yeah, but then if you see it this way, I want to explain something really important. So again, based on the way I grew up, I want to check, for example, on my wife or on my daughter or someone. So just to give you an example. So when I was telling you, like, let's say I want to chat with you. So when I chat, when I was mentioning to you about, we do texting, and then you have to put an emoji and this and that. So that's a patented concept that we have, really important to us. So imagine when I'm interacting with you, so I'm sending how are you, this and that, but I see where you are, I see that you're sitting or walking, I see your core body temperature at the same time.
Wow.
So then you can interact differently, and this is some of the modality, but you can imagine other modalities that you can insert into this.
يعني على الطريقة اللبنانية التيتا ما بقى فيها تكذب.
No.
وجده ما في يقول لك ماشي أنا هون قاعد على التخت تكون قاعد بجنينة.
Yeah.
وما في يكون عم بيطلع دراج وأنت قايل له ما تطلع دراج طلع بالأسانسير.
Yeah, 100%.
Beautiful.
You can also see if they're having, if they're drinking or not, because like you can see their HRV the next day changing. But
wow, it's so surreal for our era.
You know, you have to go through so much pain in life to create a product that will solve bigger problems. So
you're creating the future today.
Yeah, for sure.
This is how it is. This is how it is.
I think I'm creating a way for 100% of the population to participate. لأنه what I went through, I don't think it's. I served the Red Cross as a volunteer in Lebanon, and I was shot in Lebanon, and I was hospitalized for 2 years. And the care that you go through, and the need to have your parents and your loved one with you, is so important, at least to me at the time. But it wasn't possible because you couldn't get your mom and dad to be with you. I was 18 when I was shot, and then the person who saved me that night was a Red Cross volunteer, and then I decided to, as soon as I finished my treatment, I volunteered in the Red Cross for 2 years. What I saw in various communities, it's unbelievable equivalency when it comes to caring and love, regardless how people speak and religion and political affiliation they have. I found this common thread that gave me this hope at the time. But that gave me a view that probably if I didn't go through the pain and the hospitalization and the Red Cross and dealing with my dad lately, probably I wouldn't have thought about this invention. It's really, you have to go, and if you go back, honestly, every time you look at people who created something, you look at their history, they had so much pain. So, because what really happened here is not logical. For this business to be here today, after what I went through, and like every person in business, I had ups and downs, and success and failure, and my failures were brutal, and my success were very good too. But what I've done over here with the team that I have is honestly a miracle.
Wow. Thank you for the trust. ميرسي للثقة، ميرسي لأنه فوتني على هذا المعمل، ميرسي لحال كل الحكي 45 دقيقة اللي حكينا فيهم عن كل هالتفاصيل، وقديش حلو، قد قريته بعيونه الباشن، قد قريته بعيونه اللي يس I've done it بعد فترة كتير طويلة، بعد تعب كتير، بكل فخر واو impressive. يا حنة Lebanese success stories across the globe. يا حنة بيشتغلوا على الناعم على السكاتة all across وبيرفعوا لكم اسمكم كتير عالي.
You can see right now it said I'm walking, right? You need 10 steps to. So imagine now you're checking on me. You're my brother, and you want to know how am I doing. So you can see I'm walking, and you can see where I'm walking. So you can participate. Let's say, for example, you want to walk with your dad from far away, or you want to run with your dad, or maybe you don't want to call your dad because he's sleeping. So you can see right away that he's sleeping. So why, you know?
Wow, this is amazing connections.
Yeah.
This is real connections.
Yeah, for sure. You have to, again, remember back home, especially when we used to come back from school, you will be so quiet at 2 to 3 because your parents probably are having a siesta, right? So you won't yell. You will look through the window to see if your parents are sleeping or not. So I wanted to develop something similar. Why go create all of this noise, call and check and worry when you can find out what's going on and you can check on them in a socialized way.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How great it was to تجمع مع بعض emotions and you're super emotional person واضح and science وحطيتهم كلهم سوا بشيء جمع emotions اللي اجمالا ما بتخلي الواحد يتقدم كتير and science اللي وصلت لما احنا وصلت.
You have to start from the purpose, not from the science. It's not, the science is an enabler, but you have to ground yourself every day with the purpose. If you create a business just based on science, yes, you may be successful, but for me, I just wanted to create a purpose, and I want the purpose to stay the North Star, if you will. And then you can add science to make sure that purpose is solid and achieved every day. الباور بتروح top vertically and horizontally. So why this is important? So when you're wearing top and bottom and socks and gloves like this garment, currently I don't know if you ski, but if you wear heated garment, have you ever wearing those heated garments? So you have to have a battery on one sock and another battery on another sock and another battery on this glove and another battery on the other glove. So that's 4 batteries just for gloves and socks, and you have to charge them separately. Most people don't do it. What we've developed is, this is a step toward the future, that you're wearing this base layer anyway. If you're skiing, you're wearing something under your snowsuit. But the gloves, this is our own technology of heating, all you have to do is plug it to the sleeve, and the power will come from the sleeve. And this sleeve as well. So this way you can reduce the price of the glove, make them accessible for everyone, but also the user experience is significantly better. Same thing with the sock. You don't see a battery on this sock, but this sock will heat you up. And also this legging will heat you up. And a single battery, and then so now you can connect top and bottom. But what you saw over here, huge issue for people who work in heavy industries, maybe mining or oil and gas. They have to wear protective gears, and often it's very heavy. So if somebody's wearing a helmet, they have to have a flashlight. They have to put a battery on the helmet. Then they put a battery on this. Then they put a battery belt. So it becomes so heavy, especially in a high temperature. You could be adding 10 kilos, 15 kilos of cablings and accessories. So we eliminated all of those things, and there is a common knowledge, when I reduce weight, I can improve your energy. So this way, a worker now could be more productive. Now in Canada, we have hundreds of thousands of workers in cold storage, especially in fishing or in pharma companies or in food. So those workers are wearing 4, 5, 6 garments just to work inside a -10 or -20 warehouses. And they have to go outside often, do multiple breaks. And the fact that you have 3, 4, 5 garments, it reduces your mobility. So in our product, we can give you a single layer. I can give you 40 degrees Celsius inside. So now you can be mobile and you can be safer, because when you're restricted with all of these garments, you're not as safe. You're not as agile, you know, and I'm talking about a facility where there's some automation, there is forklift going back and forth. So you're not as agile as we are naturally when we're wearing normal stuff. So I can now heat you up Same will work in the summer, I can cool you down. But then now you're wearing a single layer or 2 layers. So it saves, it creates more productivity, and it's much simpler. So whether the experience is for skiing, or the experience for a worker, or the experience for your grandparents who have cold extremities because they always have cold feet or cold hands. So regardless, it can enhance circulation because it heats up those extremities. And it's done in a way that, again, following the same principle. I'm not interested in showing off technology. I'm only interested in showing off, in reducing any habit change. So the point is, I just want everyone, specifically the marginalized demographic, to participate in a way that everybody else get to participate. So that's the concept. And, or a newborn. So this is a newborn. It has 3 lead EKG and a core body temperature, and it has toss and turn. It has a posture of the baby, so when parents are worried about sudden infant death, for example, all they have to do is put this band, and now you displace the standalone thermometer, you displace the standalone EKG, you displace some cameras and all of those, and you make it in a natural way that the baby, from the moment you discharge from a hospital to a certain age, this is washable and dryable, and it uses the same app. So in our app, the one I showed you, so grandma now, even though she is not in a position to visit the grandson or the granddaughter, but she is now participating from far away. So she's seeing when the baby is sleeping, she's seeing when the baby is laughing, she's seeing when the baby's heart rate goes up and when temperature goes up. So she's no longer having a conversation with her daughter about her granddaughter or grandson in vacuum. So she's an equal participant to that conversation only by the evidence enabled by this. Why this is important? Because our human skin sense and actuate. You know, when you sweat, when you're cold, you shiver. That's an example of actuation. So when you're cold, it heats you up. When you have pain, it does pain relief. So it's pretty advanced in that sense. Again, we're trying to constantly stay close to the human habit, and we simply want to augment human needs using technology. But the whole point is to keep it familiar for everyone. But there's textile. We're making textile part of this IoT ecosystem. And so that's where we come in. Textile computing is our domain. Our brand is Skiin. But essentially in a car, we are we're solving a number of problems. In an electric car, the biggest challenge is how do you reduce weight? Number one. Number two is how do you assemble this product with the least amount of steps? And how do you create interoperabilities? So when it comes to interoperability, a seat, for example, using our textile, we can tell the airbag without having a separate switch and a separate cable that a baby is there or an adult is there. In fact, we know exactly the weight of the person using our textile pressure sensing, which is the same textile that covers the seat. It's not a separate textile, it's the same one. Then in addition, if you look in any car, the heating for a car is usually a plastic film that is inserted maybe 5 to 10 centimeters below the surface. So you have significant amount of loss, and you don't feel the heat. Yeah, to feel the heat, it has to put a high current, which consumes a lot of power. So in our model is the pressure sensing and heating and cooling are the same layer. So heat is very close to the body, and in addition, we detect your heart rate, either from the seat or from the steering wheel or from the arm band. On top, our textile also create power transmission, similar to what I showed you on the garment. So to displace weight, the carpet on the floor or the seat, they're all interconnected. So you don't have to run power on a car from the back to the front using cables. You rely on the carpet that already has our conductor on the textile. So all in all, you reduce weight, you improve the functionality, but you definitely create functionality with a lot less power than the current car today. So this is our development. We have a significant development in that. But the key is, again, the future of experience in a car is no different than your experience at home. The whole point here, whether you are in an office or at home or in a car, there is a halo participation, your health and wellness is on a continuous basis. So the car is just a location. Your home is another location. Your office is another location. So you have to see a future where human beings are continuously participating in a digital version of themselves. Some people may call that digital twin, etc. But the whole point is your existence is continuously connected to the environment. So whether the environment happened to be in a car or at home or in a hospital or in an office, everyone is asking the same thing. If you are in a car or in a home and you had a health condition, can I trust the data coming from that to be equivalent to a clinical setting? So I can rely, I can develop a care from anywhere. I can develop hospital at home. That's why you have to develop this with a unique standard, not a commodity like when you say, okay, I'm going to do this for the cars and that's it. No, you have to take into consideration all the interoperabilities and all the workflow that a clinician and a doctor requires and make the car just a location. It's not about the car. It's about the human in a car, or a human in a bed, or a human in an office. So the car is just a tool. And the point of all of this is to enable humanity to exist and to participate and at the level of advancement of technology. In 5 years, I hope this product will serve so many families and keep family closer and connected and provide accessibility to the most vulnerable and serve a purpose, you know, create, help someone who's neglected otherwise. That would be something I would be very, very proud of achieving. You know, my parents were very good to me. My family was, I grew up in a great environment, so much love, and I just hope this product will provide connectedness and satisfaction to families regardless where they are.
شيء كتير مهم، شيء كتير 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 مهم. يعني اللي حكيهن فهمت منهم 90%، بعد في 10% رح ارجع احضر الفيديو شي 3 مرات. كتير كتير مهم. The future عم بيصير هلا، مش معقول قديش مهمه الابلكيشن كيف فرجينا اياها كيف تشتغل، المعمل اللي كتير كبير، هالبرودكت هالتكستايل، عم نحكي عن قصص للسياره، عم نحكي عن اشياء للسبور، للرياضيه، للي بيغطسوا، للي بيعملوا سكي، عم نحكي عن تياب فيكم تلبسون كل يوم، عم نحكي عن شيء بيحكي معكم بيحميكم. باخر 45 دقيقه بعتقد حكي عن اشياء رح تساعد ناس، توقف حد ناس، تدعم ناس. يا ريت يعني يا ريت كان فينا نحكي يمكن اكثر بالعربي، بس فيري براودلي اللبناني، بالانجليزي او بالعربي زيت شيء. ترجموها and enjoy and be proud and share، لانه بيستاهلوا. كل ما رح تقروا ماينت شي محل لانه جاي الايام اكثر واكثر، او سكين دبل اي، رح تقولوا هيدا من عنا. and again thank you للثقه انه فوتوني لهون. I feel blessed.